Black Gemara. Today's daf is daf Gimel and Aleph, and today's daf is daf Days and Aleph. This is Friday's Gemara. We are up to the very first wide line. We're continuing the Mishnah. As you know, I'm traveling for the past week, and basically I have no sforim with me, so sometimes some of the names of the Rishonim that I gave you might have been inaccurate. Hopefully they are accurate, but could be that they're not. So let's continue that debate on Aleph. We have a machlekes Beisham and Beisil, whether it's Shava dinner or whether it's Shava pruta, what you have to give to a woman for Kiddushin. So we analyze Beishamai, his svara. Now we're going to Beisil. What exactly does it mean when he says pruta? Well, Beisil says the pruta. Savar Rabbi Yosef lemeimar. Rabbi Yosef thought that pruta doesn't mean dafka, a coin called pruta. It means pruta culture, whatever the smallest pruta coin is in your city, in your era, that's what a pruta is. That's what Yosef said. Abaye said to him, in our Mishnah clear, it spells out that pruta has a value. Kamahi pruta, how much is the pruta? Echad mishmayna bi isra talki, an eighth of an isra talki. Some of the Shaydim say that it's in the Mishnah, it's copper, totally copper, and its a value is an eighth of an Isser, Italian Isser, which is totally silver. But then Rambam learns that it's 1/8 silver and 7/8 copper. And that's why it's an eighth of the value of an Isser. He says the Gemara, so therefore it seems clearly from the Mishnah by Yasser that there is a value for a person. The generation of Moshe, but not whatever people consider the lowest value can't be. Okay, Asi Rabdimi, when Rabdimi came along from Medrash Amar, he said, Shia Rab Simai Bedoiroi Kamei Pruta. Simai worked out what's the value of a pruta. Echad Mishmayna be Isatalki, an eighth of an Israelitine. Even though there were other coins that were worth less at the time, as Hashem explained, he still said the value is an eighth of an Italian Isra. They assessed it, come out with a sixth of an Italian Isra, which we'll see later what their argument is. But Lepoil, what we're seeing here is that even though there was other currencies, even less value, that is what they used. So we see that it's an exact denomination. It is a certain coin. Amar said, if that's the case, explain to me, it says, go calculate how many prutas are there in two sloyim, more than 2,000 sloim prutas in two sloim. The mother is trying to say is that if you do an aveda, the 8 hegdish, the shegig, the value of a pruta, you have to bring a carbon, the value of 2 sloim, which is worth more than the 2,000 prutas you used. In other words, that the crime, the punishment is dramatic. And therefore, one has to be very careful to doing any avedis. But what we see that there's more than 2,000 prutas in a slime. How's that possible? If pruta is a fixed amount, an eighth of an iser, it can never be equal to more than 2,000 prutas by 2 slime. And why is that? Yes, it won't be 2,000 as we'll soon make the calculation. Are you going to tell me that it's more than 2,000? Amar Husavi. The old person said, who actually relayed the B'raisa in the first instance, I'm the one who said the B'raisa. And I did not say it was more than 2,000. I said it's almost 2,000. Says the Gemara, save, ultimately, out of the Chamish Me'ebet plus and Meshitzu the Have, it works out to 1,000, as we'll soon see, 1,532. 1,536, not 2,000. So I'm going to explain. We'll soon see the calculation how we get to that. Even the nafkul parga, once it's more than 1,500, you have the right to say you round it off to the next large number, which is 2,000. Gufa, let's analyze it. He also Now the cheshbon, how we get to 1,536 is as follows. One seller, we're talking about two slime. One seller is made up of 4 dinner. Each dinner has, as we'll soon see in the Gemara, has 20. We have Machlekes Tanaim. We'll soon see has 24 isarin. So each dinner has 24 isarin. That means, and we'll see each isar has 8 prutas, which means that 8 times 24 is 192. So each dinner has 192 prutas. 4 dinner, which is 1 seller, is the equivalent of 4 times 192, and 2 slime is 8 times 192, which is 1,536. So we say we round up this number. Hopefully, let's analyze why one says 8 and one says 6. Kiosef dimamar shira some derek hami prutam pruta ech meshmoin lo talk an eighth of a tainis. Kiosef Rabina mashira the story of Yan Rabbeisha that the story of Yan Rabbeisha. They assess that kami pruta ech meshisha be isa talk a sixth of a Italianis. What's going on here? What's the machlek is whether it's a sixth of Italianis or an eighth. Name, let us say that you're actually having an argument which is identical to a machleket tanai, which would be totally redundant. The time we learned, the proof that the Chachamim say is echad mishmoina beisa talki is an eighth of an Italian isa. And how does that work? Is sheish ma kesev dinner. A sixth ma. We're going to see how do we get to an isa of 24. There are 6 ma in each dinner. Each ma is shnei punya, means you have 12 punya in a dinner. Each punya is shnei isarim, which means you have 12, divided into 2. So you have 24 isarim in a dinner. And each isa is shnei musmisin. So each isa is made up of 2 musmisin, which each musmis is made shnei kuntrunkin. So that means that 4 kuntrunkin in an isa, and kuntrunkin is shnei prutas. Each kuntrunkin 2 prutas, which makes it 8 prutas per isa. 24 isrim per dinner, and that's how we get to 192, and then we get to the number we gave before. Nimta pruta achas mishmoina beisa talki. 1 pruta is an eighth of an Italian isrim. That's the view of the Tanakh. And Shimon ben Gamliel, and Shimon sounds like Ravin. Shloisha he has different currency. Shloisha hadrasin is a ma. Shnei hanotzin is lahadris. So you have now 6, and Shnei shemanin lahanatz. Base prutas l'shamer nimtza comes out that prutas achas meshisha beisa talki comes out only a sixth of an Italian isser. Lamot, so it seems the matter of Tanakama, but Rabbi Nam goes back that you're arguing the same machlekes as the Tanaim. Amalei said, Bain Didi, Bain Ravin, whether it's me, whether it's Ravin, Aliba the Tanakama. Everyone agrees with Tanakama, no question. But like Kasha, the pruta is always fixed. 192 prutas of dinner. That's all fixed. The only thing that fluctuates in value is the Isser itself. Had the Yaikid Isser, the Isser becomes more valuable. Had the Zoyl Isser, the Isser becomes less valuable. Had the Yaikid Isser becomes more valuable, becomes Kumesim above, it's 24 in Zuz. Had the Zoyl, if it becomes less valuable, it's kind of plus in between, so it's 32 in Zuz. Amashmul Seshmul. Kitcha Betamra. If somebody got engaged with a woman and gave her a date which has very little value, less than a shava prut. I feel like a kut tomorrow medina, even if you can buy an entire kut, 30 sa, in the value of tomorrow in a dinner, which means that each individual date is worthless. Yet mekudesh is mishiv mekudesh safik chayshin, and we are saying maybe shava prut mother, maybe it's worth a prut and mother, maybe it has value somewhere else. Says the Gemara, "This is clear. Mishnah Beisil. I mean, the pruta b'shal proteinina pruta, but like kasha. Hope kedusha vade. Hope kedusha safek. If you want to make sure it's 100% kedushin, it has to be pruta. If it's a safek, if it's less than pruta, maybe it's worth a pruta in madai, and therefore it's a safek kedushin. So if she receives kedushin from somebody else, she needs a get from the first person if she wants to live with the second person. Big machek is a shayim here. So many macheks there. One is. And the Ran has a lot of this. The Rambam has his own shot. One is, what happens if you know 100% is worth a pruta, but not here, in another city altogether? Yeshima Kodesh Shanat. Machlek is, do we need that where you are, the Kaima B'Shaik, that has to be worth a pruta, or it doesn't matter? As long as it's worth a pruta somewhere, that means it's kesef, you can even use it here. And the reason why over here it's only a Kedusha Safik is because we don't know whether it's a pruta worth a pruta somewhere else or not. So that is a machlekes of sheni whether it's valid or not, or whether the svara why it should be valid is because then the woman there maybe is happy to receive it, or you can always travel to that place. And the fact that Rambam says it has to be a non-perishable item, which sounds like you can always travel to the place, and therefore it has that intrinsic value. Something about it further. There was a person, there was a person that Mekadosh woman with a bundle of let's say wool of cotton. Yosef Shebachi Kamedra Bachi Simi Bachi said the Quran because Ma'aim is examining it. He eats Beishava Pruta. Oh yeah, does it have Pruta or not? Or you like. So if it has a Pruta, then it's Kedushin. If not, not. So the Gemara Lesba Shava Pruta, but does not have the value of a Pruta. So what? Even so, we are concerned that maybe there is a value of put in Modai. Like cash is not a problem. Of the Kiddushin Vade or something. He wasn't saying he was discounting the Kiddushin. You want to know what's Kiddushin Vade. So if a second person gave a Kiddushin, we ignore it altogether. Or it's only Kiddushin suffix. So if a second person gave a Kiddushin, you have to entertain the idea that she might be married to the first person, might she marry the second. Who gave the person the Akdish Bam the Kuchel? The person that gave her a stone. Made out of black. We had carbon like marble, whatever. Yosef Chizu Kamashai Chizu was examining it. He eats Bashar Protein. He loy has a proof or not. Nabi let Bashar Protein loy Bamashmol Chashidin. So here the Gemara says that Chizda loy Sava lay Shmuel. That Chizda did not agree with Shmuel at all. So the mother of this girl said to Chizda, but that day there was worth a pruta. Amalei said, "Lav kol kamina the asla basa." We don't believe you. That was if Chizda was trying to completely discount the first kedushin with the first person. So therefore, Rashi says, what's going on over here is you got engaged with another person. According to Taisus, actually, the other person was a brother, and therefore, if there was any suffix kedushin with the first person, then the brother couldn't marry her either, because the suffix maybe you're marrying the wife of your brother. Because Rabbi Yechiza completely discounts the first solution, and he says the second solution is valid, means that there's not even a suffix kedushin. Why didn't he believe her at all? So there's first of all, the machlekes is a shaynim, and we say that we examine the pruta. What are we examining? Are we examining what it's worth today? She received it a week ago. Are we examining what it's worth today, or are we examining what it was worth a week ago? When the Gemara here from Avchiz, it seems he was looking at it today. What is its value today? And even he didn't believe the mother. Some want to say because it's a davar shebe'erba, and a davar shebe'erba you don't believe less than two witnesses, or because she was in the gay davar, and so on. Many different reasons. Setting about it further, Avchiz continues. Lav Hainu the Yehudis. This is the identical story of the wife of Avchiz. Whose name was Yehudis. That she was giving birth and she had pain. She had pain because she had twins, and she couldn't take the pain anymore. She didn't have any more children, so she said to her husband Chia, my mother told me that your father accepted Kiddushin on your behalf when you were very small, so you're married to another person, you're no longer allowed to live with Chia. He said to her, your mother's not believed to ask you on me. So same idea. And why Taka wasn't a mother believer? We have a rule in the Dorim, but then the Shavya Nafshe Chaticha that if you say that to me, it's also nobody can force you to have it. So if she said that you're also to me, how can we force her? So one of the pshatim is she didn't say also. She said, I believe my mother. So that's not Shavya Nafshe. So if she would have said you're also to me because that's how it is one thing. Or I'm making you also. She's saying that you're also to me because my mother said so. And he therefore said, your mother not believed, so therefore we're not also to each other. But on my why, there's witnesses and either eat it or eat it. The other that knew that in that case that was a shopruta on that day. According to some of the shaynim, we're talking about that we actually knew they were eating, they just weren't around. According to other shaynim, most of the shaynim learned like places, it was only a koil, it was only a rumor. Says he might have hashed it, and now Mia lay less the commander not here, and therefore it's only a rumor. We're not going to accept that as any testimony whatsoever. Therefore, she's not married at all to the first person. Says Rav Chizda. Lav Hainu Rav Chanina isn't exactly the same story of Chanina. We had in the second page in Ksubas, the daughters of Shmuel were kidnapped, taken captive, and we know that we all knew that in Nishbesa that she was kidnapped. And Ben says she's and we don't believe them. Then what happened was they told their captors to stand outside the shul. They went inside and said that they were smart enough. They said that we were taken captive, but nothing happened untoward towards us. They said it is basic. They believe that Pesha also Pesha Hitit. In fact, Abchanina said to Rabbi Rabba, marry, even though you're a Kohen, you can marry them because we believe they're not a Zayn or anything else. And in this case of Chizai, there were witnesses that knew. And Rav Shem Rabba said, but our witnesses that know that they were taken captive. He said, the Edim are somewhere in the north. And therefore you want to Asa? No, we don't Asa because they're not here. So therefore we ignore them altogether. Abaye the Rabbe they don't give chizar at all. They say Mekila b'shvua. By a shvua we are lenient and we say, you know what, we'll say that the fact that Edim somewhere else we don't care, we ignore it. Because first of all, they make themselves look as ugly as possible. But more than that, the idea is that we don't know if anything happened. All we know is they're taken captive. We're assuming that something happened. Now, Schengen over here, there was Kiddushin and Nekel Beis. Over here, where there was Kiddushin, the question is whether the Eidim out there who show fruit. Of course, we should be machmir. What happened was that Abchizah said that nothing happened. She married a second person. Nobody married into that second family. They separated from her. A lot of them from the Shmuel, not because the whole Shmuel, and maybe there's a pruta modai, therefore and that maybe she was married to the first guy, and she had no right to marry the second guy. And what does the Bible say? The Bible says that maybe there were Eidim out there, or there's a call that there were Eidim out there, and therefore we have to take notice. There was another incident of a person that gave myrtle branches in the marketplace and didn't really have a value of a prut. What do we do in this case? Are we learn like Shmuel? Are we a chayshes or a chiz who ignores it altogether? He said a couple of things. First of all, the fact that he gave her, he proposed in the middle of the street, he got to give a malchus like Rav. And also the Itzigitik Shmuel, but Shmuel also said that we're chayshes maybe the show prutim, but even though it itself has no value, there are places where, like Rashi said before, that there are places that the dates don't grow, so it's much more valuable. Same thing over here, and therefore we need to get from the first person. And what's going on here? The Rav Menagid al Mekabashuk, Rav gave malchus. Anybody marries out on the street because the princess he gave malchus. Number two, in fact, there's a Rishon, the Sefer Ramani, if I remember correctly, says that a chuppah. The reason why we have a chuppah and why we have there, some people have a minute wear a talus or you put a cover is so it should not be considered as if you're being mekadosh in public, because you have the privacy of a roof, and then you have the four poles. So in a way, it's like a little house. And in order, you should not be over the Rav, at least according to this opinion, that you deserve malchus for being mekadosh out in public. It's pritz. Second thing is, if you're mekadosh should be again, it's wrong. Big question over here. They all ask on the Taz, the famous Taz with Paskins and Nichos, which is Shav and Shofar, and it could be in Yeridea, that anything with the Torah clearly says is mutter. Chacham have no right to asif. And that's why he says a bris milah on Shabbos. We don't say, oh, Gzeda Shem Yavanenu, you might end up carrying the knife. We should ban bris milahs on Shabbos. So how is it that we give malchus on somebody's mekadosh with beer when the Torah clearly says ki yikach chishisha bola? And we said before that you can be mekadosh, and the Mishnah says clearly mekadosh with beer. And there's all kinds of answers that try to answer here why this is different. Some say it's just a temporary thing that I've said, and it wasn't permanent. Therefore, Taz was talking about in a permanent way. Anyway, I said further, and why taka is it princes? We'll see in a minute. Mekadosh. If you just propose to a kala without discussing your marriage at all. If somebody says he gets his wife and then he goes to the shliach and tells him to cancel, we're worried that he might continue and give the get to the woman. She thinks she's free and it won't be. Taste doesn't like that because if the shliach was canceled, why would he continue going? We're talking about the shame here. But we just said that we learned not so long ago, where you went to a bezin and you would say, I'm about when I get. For a while, that was good. Kulin came along and said, it'll be a churban, because the woman will think that she's free and she isn't. If somebody says, I want you to know that I'm about to be coerced by a bezin, but I'm that I don't accept that coercion, but doesn't say anything, so the woman thinks she's divorced. But the truth of the matter is, we force him to cancel the murdah. But the fact is, people will speculate that maybe they get another valid gift for his murdah. The mitzvah shluch rabbanon. If somebody causes pain to shliach the rabbanon, according to Rashi, he's talking about a bezin who sends a subpoena, and you actually beat him up. According to other shaynim, you just taunt him and harass him. And according to others, it's not even talking about a bezin. Any shliach that a rav sends to inform somebody to do something, and you hassle them, you deserve malchus. The whole Sham the light was somebody had malchus for 30 days and didn't do anything about it. Al Chasna the Dai Bechamor, a son-in-law, the oldest son-in-law who lives in the mother-in-law's house. And we're, as the Gemara said, one of the reasons is because we also had this in the talk, Arab talk, and we are Choshed, that maybe something is going untoward between the mother-in-law and the oldest son-in-law. Says Chases, but if the reason that is that you're staying there because it's cheaper, you're saving on rent, you save up money, or the you get fed and it's cheaper, then it's clear why you're there, then it's all right. And so much as the diet in the follow only if you live there, but if you walk by, no. But how there was a son-in-law, the cholad above the floor that passed by the house of just passed by the house of the in-laws. The nog they Rav Sheish, they gave him malchus. So who made them have a daima? There was talk around town that there was something going on between the two. We're not on him. The Dayam of the Kula Minagi and the Dai disagreed. They said that Rav never gave any malchus to anybody. Only some of the Kaddish beer without discussing it beforehand. We even did discuss now maybe some princess. It's a princess. Why is it a princess? Because you need Eidim. So Eidim have to then stand there, Eidim Yichud, while you're having beer. So it's not nice. Says he went further. Who gave the person the cottage but to the us? There was a person made out of willows, out of myrtle. After he gave it to her, he said you should be mekudesh with the $4 that were actually buried inside this mat. She didn't give it back to him. She didn't throw it back to him. Ishki says quiet. Question: how do we interpret her silence? Omar Rava said it depends if she was silent before he gave it to her. Now, at first he was about to give it to her. He said, "Here's this mat." And he said, "By the way, the $4." And of course, she's mekudesh. Or she was silent after he gave it to her. She realized that's not worth a protest. And then afterwards, he said this. The question is, how do we interpret her actions? This is silence after receiving the money. Silence after receipt of the money means nothing. Says the Gemara, how do I know? How do I know that after the money that means nothing? Tanya, we actually learned. Oh my Lord, he says to her, "Kansi seller because take this seller. I want for you to mind it." And then after she received it, Chazav Amala, we'll see in a minute. Then he said to her, the question is, did he say to her before she received it or after? He said to her, boy, I want you to be Mekudesh to me. So here we make a distinction, says the Bryce. Bishas Matan Mois. If he said it right before he gave it to her and she accepted it, even though he started out saying it's a but then he changed his mind, said it's Kiddushin, and she accepted it, Mekudesh. After he gave it to us, he said, by the way, you're engaged with this. And then it can Rotza if she's willing, Mukadesh. She's not willing, ain't Mukadesh. Let's understand what that means. My Rotza, my Rotza. What do you mean willing or not willing? Ilema Rotza willing, the Amra, she said, yeah, okay, I'm happy to that this should be a Kiddushin, not Pekad. After she had it in her hand. Because Pekad, while it's in her hand as if it belongs to the other person. And then he said, you can keep it as if he gave it to her right now. And she's a happy acceptance Kiddushin. What happens if she's unwilling? The Amra, what do you mean? She said, Loi, not interested. Then obviously it's not Kiddushin. That means in the first case in the ratio where he said, look, I'm giving you the Pekad, and then he changed his mind, it's a Kiddushin, and she took it and she said, no, I'm not interested in the Kiddushin. She's still engaged him. We learned before in the very beginning, you can't force a woman to be engaged. Loi Mikal the ratio ki Amra Loi. If she said no, have a Kiddushin, am I wife of Amra Loi? She said no. And the Lav is talking about Ratzah. So this is what Ratzah means. The Amr, she said, in yes. She said, in yes. But Loi Ratzah means she was quiet. And because she was quiet after she received the money, you cannot interpret as if it's an acceptance. It means that she ignored him. Doesn't care what he says now. She has it already. Too late. And then Loi Ratzah, Ishtik is quiet. If she's quiet after she received it, means don't interpret it in any way. Says in Marakosha, but Pumnara in the city Pumnara asked the question, Mashmet Rabhuna, name Rabhuna B'nei Yeshua. Name Rabhuna, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, who was Rava's Talmud, Midami. How can you compare the case of Pekad to the case of Kiddushin? She received it and she was responsible. We have to wonder why she didn't throw it back. In the case of Pekod, she didn't throw it back, even though she's not interested, is because she thought that she's responsible and she might break it. But in the case of Kiddushin, he gave it to her Pekod, and then he changed his mind. Then she should have thrown it back. And she's not responsible for breaks because she never wanted you. You played around with her. But if she didn't throw it back, that in itself should be interpreted that she's accepting as Kiddushin. So how can you compare the two cases? Disagrees with Rabbi. Rabbi says, he says, no, maybe he interpreted that she's happy for Kiddushin. She thinks if I throw it back, toss it back to him, it breaks, I'll be responsible. So therefore she's retaining it. He gave it to her only in order to marry her. Right? He gave it only in order to marry her. He gave her a mat that was worthless, and afterwards he told her after she already had it in hand, it's worth 4 slime. There's 4 slime inside it. Now, why didn't she throw it back? She's not responsible. If we want to interpret her actions as, by not saying anything, that she's not happy, then let her throw it back. And the fact she didn't throw it back, that in itself speaks volumes. I don't understand. You think every person knows? You think if she received Kiddushin and she doesn't want it and throws at him and it breaks, you don't think most people think that they're responsible. She thought he should throw even by Kiddushin and mitzvah breaking. How can you interpret her inaction by not throwing it as if to say that she is happy Kiddushin? No, maybe she's not, but she doesn't know what to do with it. So so what we do, when you have Rabbi, what do we do? It can be interpreted the fact that she didn't give it back or throw it back. That means that she's happy, or we say it means nothing. She just took it as worth less than put it, and it means nothing to her. He said, we never heard what he said. You have to be concerned about what he said. Stop here. Have a good day.